What's up, my meatballs? It's Aaronitmar. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about some things that director Masahiro Sakurai discussed in an interview, or I guess a pair of interviews or something, regarding DLC characters and newcomer characters that showed up in Smash 4 and those that are going to, be forthcoming in the Smash ballot. The first thing that he talked about was the inclusion of Pac-Man, and he decided to include Pac-Man originally because it made sense that because Namco Bandai was finally starting work with Super Smash Bros. 4 for both 3DS and Wii U, it made sense to sort of add Pac-Man as an homage to them and as a tribute to them and kind of a thank you, I guess. They didn't ask him to do it themselves. They didn't require it. We'll work with you only if you include Pac-Man. He did it of his own volition and his own free will, and I think that's really cool. And one of the coolest things I think that he talked about was Pac-Man's design. Now, those of you who have played the game know that Pac-Man's design is based off the classic Pac-Man rather than the most recent Ghostly Adventures design. And I much prefer the classic, and obviously Sakurai did as well, because he said that in 2013 there was a reboot of Pac-Man, so to speak, and he got sort of a revamped design. And in the end, he felt that the old school design was much better and used that in the design plan. And if the old classic Pac-Man was rejected, he was going to drop Pac-Man altogether, which is really interesting because Smash is a huge tribute to gaming. Originally, it started as a tribute to Nintendo, and since they've added third-party characters, it's been a huge tribute to pretty much just all gaming in general. And I think that making Pac-Man the classic version rather than the new Ghostly Adventures design is really shows how Sakurai cares about all of the characters that he puts into Smash. He wants them to be the best they can be and the best references and best tributes to their individual series as they can be. We can see that with Pac-Man, how he chose the classic design and how he included the bonus point fruits as special moves and abilities and things like that. Fire Hydrant, I think, is from Hackland, so that's pretty cool. And just overall, it shows his love for the characters, especially like Ryu, how he included source material, how they wanted to make it, a tribute to source material, so they included Street Fighter inputs that you can use. So I think it really shows Sakurai's character and Sakurai's passion for gaming. In a separate interview, or I guess in a separate article, Sakurai talks about the creation process for Lucas, Roy, and Ryu as DLC characters. Now, the thing that stood out most to me about this is that all three of these characters apparently were planned way before the Smash Fighter ballot had even been created. Obviously, the finishing touches weren't done until well after the Fighter ballot was created, but it seems that these were all three characters were kept in mind once they realized, okay, we want to make more DLC besides Mewtwo. So that really stands out to me because despite the overwhelming popularity of Roy and Lucas, Ryu was sort of a wild card, but Roy and Lucas were hugely popular. So many people wanted to bring it back, and I think that shows that Sakurai sort of has his thumb to the community in terms of knowing what they want, knowing what they're excited for, what they're hyped for, and that really gets me excited for the Fighter ballot because it really makes me, believe that we're going to get some really great characters based on the votes. Sakurai himself has said that from now on, all of the characters that are going to be made, and I don't know how many that's going to be. He hasn't given us a number. We don't know how many it's going to be. He said there's only going to be several more characters, but several more can mean anything. That could mean 3 characters, that could mean 7 characters. We don't know. Because even in the Japanese to English translation, I don't think that there was any specific number given for obvious reasons. But he says that all of the remaining characters are going to be fan service, so I assume that's going to be based on the Fighter ballot. And obviously that ballot was hugely flooded with votes for characters like Goku or Shrek to be in Smash. And I highly doubt we're going to see those, but I think it shows that we're really going to see some great characters, and they're actually going to use that ballot to understand what the community largely wants and what the community has voted on. A lot of people thought that Fighter ballot was sort of just lip service and that, hey, come vote over here and you can sort of voice your opinion on the characters, but we're not really going to add what characters you want. We're just going to really add what we wanted. So I think it's really cool that we're about to see some characters that we legitimately want to see in the game. Or, some of us might not want to see certain characters in the game, but it's going to be, based on a voting system. So I think a lot of us are going to be very happy with the characters to come. And that was all the information that I really wanted to talk about from the recent interviews. he talks more about them in the Source Gaming interviews, which I will link down in the description, about the creation process as well as plugging some of the DLC and stuff, and sort of the process behind creating that DLC. He talks about the voice actor who worked with Roy. He's done a lot of voice acting in the past 10 years since he did the voice acting for Melee, because the same voice actor for Melee did the voice acting for Roy in both Melee and Smash 4, and he was very impressed that he had very specific and detailed memories of doing the Melee voice acting, even though it's been 10 years since that game, way more than 10, not way more, I guess 13, 14 years since that would have happened. So that was really cool, and it's sort of just interesting to get into the mind of the creator. You know, a lot of us put a lot of blame on Sakurai for not enjoying the game in the way we might enjoy it, but it's so clear that he has a passion for this based on the work hours he puts in and how arduous the process of creating this game is. So I really respect him for that, regardless of how I might disagree on his game design ideologies, I suppose. But that is it for this video. Like I said, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed it all, do not forget to drop a like on this video, and I will see you all back here for some more Super Smash Brothers videos. Thanks, guys, and have a great day.